its management, or other advertisers. This program is sponsored by Sue Minahan.
Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hi, I'm Sue Rose Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos. Today is June 1st. And always with June, we feel like summer is around the corner. And the sun being in Gemini, astrologically, gives us attention with, not attention, but our Mercury is the messenger and the ruler of Gemini. It's also the ruler, it's the messenger to Zeus, the large, the god. Pardon me for not getting this down. I know this exactly in my brain. But the fact is we're getting all these communications. Jupiter is soon to be changing signs from Gemini to Cancer, and Saturn, in other words, all the planets, not all the planets, but the outer planets are changing signs. But Jupiter and Saturn are the ones that have this contraction and expansion. And the very fact that they're going to be within different signs that are impacting actions, and it's going to define new cultural perspectives. With that said, I'm glad to say we're ready for Kaleidoscope Visions.
Understanding the cosmic energies influencing our consciousness by the 4 major moon phases for the month, this is your Kaleidoscope Visions panel.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a soul-centered astrologer, blending intuition into my practice. I believe the universe is always working for our highest good and seek to empower my clients in our readings. I teach a 4-week series of empowerment-based meditation classes that connect you deeper into your own intuition and innate power. I work in communications with a passion for employee experience. I also have a BA in psychology. I'm passionate about healing and enjoy helping others create new realities and shift old paradigms.
And I'm John Chinworth, a Seattle astrologer with more than 25 years experience. I use a blend of evolutionary, traditional, and archetypal techniques and constantly attend workshops and lectures to further hone my skills. I hold an MFA in poetics, an MA in teaching, and an astrological diploma. I've lectured at NORWAC and served on the WSAA board. I have worked in general and special education classrooms, both as a teacher and mentor. I also enjoy reading, penning poems, riding a bike, and going on road trips around the great state of Washington.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Hi, I think we're here. I think I'm going to see us pretty soon. Oh, there I am. Yeah. Oh, there's my friends. Very good.
Hello.
How are you? Yeah,
Good to be
hi,
back.
Joe.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Amanda.
Yeah.
It is. And it's not quite summer, but it's still, the sun is out so much longer. I know where you are, particularly here in Hawaii. It still makes a difference. It's nice.
Yeah, it's not quite summer yet in the Northern Hemisphere, but it feels like it.
Yeah. And of course, recognizing we are now a globe with the Southern Hemisphere, it's still beautiful. It's autumn down there, isn't it? Let's see what we have. Okay. So we'll start with our slides if we can. That would be great. Oh, goody. So you can get a hold of Amanda at her Gmail, and that's Amandamoonastrology at Gmail, and John.com. And John Chinworth has skypathastro.com, and I'm at Talk Cosmos. And so we're talking with Kaleidoscope Visions about the lunar phases. There's 8 phases, 4 primary and 4 intermediate. They have different names. But we're talking about the primary ones. And this slide shows these in a nutshell. And you can also go, there's so many wonderful sites online to find out more information. This is earthhow.com. But again and again, whether it's date and time or earth, sky, many, many ways to learn more about these phases. So we're in this show, we're dealing with the new moon, the first quarter, which is a week apart, the full moon, another 2 weeks from the new moon, and then the third quarter, which is the light increases until it gets to the full moon, and then it decreases, preparing for the next new moon.
I like to think of these as a plant, like the new moon, you're planting the seed. At the first quarter, it's starting to come out of the ground, getting stronger. Full moon, it's a tree, it's full in bloom. And then last quarter, it's dropping fruit, or it's getting ready to close down for the winter. So there's a full plant cycle sped up into a moon cycle.
Yes. And then at the full moon, you get an opportunity to see, is it really healthy? Is it producing what I want it to? You can prune it or continue. The actual dates for these primary phases, the 4, would be a week ago, May 26th, with the new moon at 6 degrees and 6 minutes of Gemini. In a few days, on June 3rd, it'll be the first quarter in Virgo, 12 degrees, 50 minutes Virgo. The full moon is in Sagittarius. That's on the 11th of June. That'll be just after Jupiter ingresses Cancer. And that's at 20 degrees, 39 minutes of Sagittarius. And then lastly, you have on the 18th of June, the third quarter, which is also an immutable sign. It's going to be 27 degrees, 47 minutes of Pisces. Amanda, did you have something, or John?
Yeah, well, I would love to just call out that all 4 of these moon phases are ruled by Mercury and Jupiter. So the first 2 ruled by Mercury, Gemini and Virgo, and then the next 2, Sagittarius and Pisces. Pisces is the ancient ruler, or Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. So the first 2 are Mercury, the next 2, Jupiter. And so we've got this really like mental month that's where we're taking in a lot of information, we're analyzing it, and then we're coming forward with this cohesive path forward for ourselves based on everything that we're gathering.
It is remarkable, especially with this idea that Jupiter and Mercury, because Mercury is the only one that can go in mythology, Western mythology that we've inherited here, to the underground, to Hades, to the spirit world, and then again to the heavens, or between spirit and matter, in other words. And that's what it's fascinated with, is connecting these. So there we are, this tremendous sense of communication and connection. John, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, whenever I hear of Mercury or Jupiter together, I think of the teacher and the student, and that could go either way, because many times the students are your teachers and teachers can be students. But when these 2 planets play together, there is teaching and learning going on. School of life, huge. I don't know.
Yes, and the moon, of course, it reminds me too that in the ancients, that it was our first, well, the story, the memory is with Mercury, and the memory is with moon. So they're very symbiotic, besides air and water, that always has a relationship. It's powerful times as an integration into all these changes that we're experiencing with these planets moving into long cycles of new signs. One factor also to bring out as a highlight is, again, the out-of-bound planets. That's when the planets exceed the elliptical path of the sun, which is 23 degrees and, 26 minutes, I believe. It's not 44, sorry to say, but it's roughly half a degree, but it's a little less. So Mercury from the first quarter to the third quarter, and the full moon is going to be out of bounds, this ruler of Gemini. And then the moon will be for the new moon last week and for the full moon. Here we have a slide to present all four of these. We're trying to show a flow and developing this. That's why we bring in what's a major transit, which there's several, but Jupiter, of course, is the looming elephant in the room that on the 9th changes its sign for the coming year. It's a whole 13-month passage that Jupiter has in a sign.
You can look at all the aspects in each of these charts and notice how they build. And when you get to the full moon, it's really busy.
Yeah.
And then it starts to let off on the third quarter. And I just noticed that.
You're right. And when I looked at them too, that's what I thought, because we don't want to get into the weeds with the first and the third, but sometimes they do have connecting things. And I'm not being critical of you guys or ourselves, but I'm just announcing to our audience that it's a process. Moon is a process, though, of learning what's really meaningful. And what you said is very appropriate, I think.
It's a very Jupiter slide. Like, this is a big picture view of what the month looks like. And that's what we are going for with Jupiter, is kind of getting that synthesis of what John was just talking about. So be looking at that this month.
To build on those two factors, look at this. We have Mercury. We already have talked about their relationship in mythology, and then the fact that they're ruling all these phases for this month. But Mercury is out of bounds from the first to the third, and Jupiter is really active. On the new moon, it was in activation with the lunar nodes, which is moon nodes. So we were going between what was comfortable and what we're integrating, which is Pisces and Virgo. And then but then Jupiter squares Saturn and Neptune that just ingressed Aries. So that's really a philosophical hit, you might say, or impact that we're coming up with. On the full moon, Jupiter is going to again continue that, but instead of being in Gemini, because it's it's in orb, it's going to be in Cancer. So it'll really be official as far as that impact between water and fire. And then at the very end, it still continues it. Okay. Thank you. The new moon, the seed point, 6 degrees, 6 minutes of Gemini, occurring on the 26th of May at 11:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And all these are going to be Aries points, 0 degrees Aries points charts. So no matter on the houses, really, it's just the signs. Looking at the actions and conjunctions, it's highly motivating at this point that we're at. Just the fact of having Chiron conjunct Eris, and to bring that into lay terms, not excluding anything that needs to heal us. The healer and Eris, inclusivity and exclusivity, is saying, have you forgotten parts of yourself that you need to look at the shadows and heal, perhaps? But it's exact. Go ahead.
Chiron Eris, I think, also speaks to, if we look at it collectively, Eris are the people who are left out, who are screaming for their basic rights, and Chiron is saying we need to heal this. So those two planets together are a great gift. They have a great message to tell the world right now, I think.
And Eris is also about deconditioning. It's like undoing the layers of our internalized programming. So this is a big piece. We're healing this piece. And that also speaks to Jupiter. It's like we want to get a bigger picture so that we can start moving in the correct direction for us that maybe we're not fully seeing quite yet.
Yes. And isn't it interesting that because Chiron, the alchemist of healing, and Eris, the messenger of inclusivity, is, you could say, the messenger, is being ruled by Mars, that happens to be in Leo, going back to the sun in Gemini. I mean, it's all very synergetic. And Mars, our
I think
action,
oh,
is in
sorry.
this
I think that
dynamic.
makes it very take a stand. Mars and Leo, the general of the army, and having the Chiron, Eris, and Aries take a stand for these things.
Yeah, and Mars is contemplating what strategy to do, what alliances to make. Yes, it's really powerful. And then, of course, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to note also, this is since this is the new moon phase and the moon is in Gemini, there's a lot of information seeking happening at this time. And we're actually not in the new moon anymore. So this was the previous week. So if you think back to what your week was like, were there points where you were kind of thinking about things and questioning things and asking why about stuff?
It is the seed point, which is true. So that's very good to remember, and also recognize that as we go along, we're going to be maybe building on that seed point of connections.
Yeah. And
Another
piece I wanted to mention we've mentioned already about how big Jupiter is in this chart or in this month. And I think Mercury is big also, because it's been, you can see it there conjunct the moon and sun, and it's been applying to the sun, which means that it's going through its transformation with the sun. It's coming in to conjunct the sun. It hasn't quite hit it in this chart yet. And it actually did connect with the sun completely, which is called GEMINI, when Mercury is exactly conjunct the sun. That was May 29th or 30th, depending on where you were. And that's when Mercury is fully being purified. It's burning away anything that's not really serving it anymore. And it has kind of the ear of the king, is the ancient way of saying it, the sun being the king. And so there's this new connection point and this new connection to divinity, because the sun is considered that divine principle. So it's kind of a big deal for Mercury. It's a rebirth in a way. So we've got Jupiter and Mercury really having big months.
Oh, thank you both. In support, although it can be in conflict in a sense, but there are planets that are easily working through as we're trying to make actions. And Venus and Mars are actually collaborating pretty well. So it's, in other words, our values that are associated with Chiron and Eris of our alchemizing our wounds to heal them by inclusivity, what's been left out, because it's polarity there, exclusive and inclusivity, along with, so that's those values and what actions to make.
A lot of fire and air, which is a lot of forward movement. Fire specifically is like wants to get moving, take action, and that air is just really supportive of it. That thinking through things and new ideas coming forward.
And with Pluto newly into Aquarius not that long ago, Pluto is now thinking about the collective and deeper change to the collective. And starting out this month with that nice trine to Mercury, Sun, Moon is, I guess it kind of lights up Pluto a little bit and going deeper on what society needs, ideas that we need, what we need to think and feel, and how to be present in our communities.
I love both your comments.
How to make shifts in an empowered way for ourselves and for our communities. Yeah.
Indeed. I always bring this slide up to remind people it is one of these configurations that isn't often talked about. It's a point of Thales, who happened to be a great Greek philosopher and mathematician. And it's an aspect called also the wedge. It's where you have an opposition to planets, but a third planet is in this collaborative trine and sextile that wants to connect and is a creative outlet for what might appear to be two opposing factors. in this point, and this was very evident with the last new moon in Taurus. However, here it's often, and it is coming up, but with Uranus, which is the sudden, immediate planet of the moment. It's going to bring in those things that rear us into authenticity and make us awaken to what we need to see, whether we've been subconscious about it or not. It helps to be to work constant. That's why we do astrology, right? To try to get an idea about what are the energies talking about.
A little bit of an echo of the Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus being the modern ruler of Aquarius. So having both of those there. Again, the collective again coming into view.
Yeah.
Planets sextile or trine, the nodal axis, are your helpers on your journey. So Uranus is helping with not only technology, but new ideas.
There could be like brilliant ideas, but not ones that are necessarily harsh or shocking. It's a different, that flow of Uranus where you get the download or the information and it's like sudden, but not, it's just an easier time with it.
Well, it's useful, particularly because that's always the higher octave of Mercury. And so it's, again, right. It's another idea, maybe not as personal as you say, but still something to recognize. Well, let's see if we can get through the first quarter. That was very important as a foundation, because this lunar cycles always help us reevaluate. It's crisis in action. As now the light begins to emerge, it's between 90 degrees and I think 135 degrees. I have this written down. I'm going to, but it is at 12 degrees, 15 minutes of Virgo. It's a waxing, increasing light on June 3rd at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, this is an Aries chart. The dispositor is Mercury. Here we are. So again, we still have that Venus conjunct Chiron and Eris, but this time, and it is still in that relationship with Jupiter. Thank you. It's getting there. The messages are getting there. It has to work through our pains
it's so much Mercury and so much information.
Yeah, distraction. That's the other part. That's the downside. Try to keep a focus. So in some ways, this flows ahead. And there is also the same idea that you were bringing up, John, that you spoke about with our transformation that we're doing, but it's on a spiritual basis, really. I think the message is predominantly on that it isn't just our ego, our way of designing our schedule or whatever information we have, but to give recognition to that subtle, unseen energy that we call the source, we call in any religion, whatever you want to call it, and in spirituality, many things that might be on a billboard, well, if you see billboards anymore, or a book or a movie or a comment from a friend, et cetera, right?
Maybe Venus there with Chiron and Eris she's always really gentle and wants you to be kind to yourself. And she's saying, go through these processes with a lot of love for yourself and your process, and also anybody else going through that process.
Yeah.
It's also in Aries, so take some action soon.
That's kind of weird. Little step, just a little step. Yeah.
And there could be a piece of this where we just had that exact Chiron Eris conjunction, and Venus coming in here could be talking about, how do I apply this to my values? What am I really valuing here? And do I need to take some steps to kind of align more correctly with myself, let go of some stuff that aren't really serving me, that are maybe like false identities? That's something that Eris is often connected to.
Right. Maybe excluding part of yourself.
Yeah, just like showing up more authentically for yourself and valuing that piece.
Yeah.
This is very appropriate, and it's totally comes right to home with me because I'm sincerely looking at the why again to make it up conducive to the audience, to the panelists, to myself, to
Can we
a
talk
whole
about
enchilada.
Can we talk about Hygeia being in trine with Pluto? That's the
Okay.
asteroid down at the bottom next to Uranus. I think that's very interesting. Hygeia healing. Well, basically more health. Hygeia was the goddess you would pray to have consistent health, because you didn't want to go to the god Asclepius, because he was like, when the disease is serious, you need surgery or serious like stuff. So you love Hygeia. Well, she's in line positively with
His
Pluto.
daughter. And
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was his daughter.
I think Hygeia in line with Pluto in a positive way is saying deeper health, maybe explorations or something like that. Just being aware of that.
Thank you. It's very appropriate. And you can do it in so many different ways, whether it's just a teeny tweak in your diet or one more exercise. I know my husband has these different contraptions now to exercise his hands and move his feet. And anyway, I could go on about this, but it's appropriate. It's amazing. Here we have some real action points. We have 2 T-squares, as we call it, when that focal point is in action with some opposition. And look who's doing it. Jupiter. Jupiter saying, I'm just about to change signs. So what do you want to give up? And with your details,
Jupiter's
how are you organizing?
Jupiter's about being on your correct path. And so here it's squaring the nodes, and we're at kind of a choice point. Like, do we need to course correct at all and get on a path that's a little more authentic for us? And I like also that this is this first quarter moon occurs, the moon is in Virgo. And so we gathered a ton of information the week before, whether that was conscious or unconscious, it's happening, we're gathering it. And now we're analyzing that, and we're kind of putting it into practice a little bit more. And I love that Mercury you can see it there conjunct with the sun, but it's separating from the sun now. So it's gone through that process of purification. It's come out the other side. It's got all this new insight and information. It's also out of bounds. So it's not playing by anybody's rules. So we've got like a lot of potential to kind of take some different actions that we maybe didn't expect.
Oh, I feel like I'm going on a good vacation. Clear. Because I am a Gemini. I do have Virgo rising. And I was just looking at my desk and thinking, well, every other area is looking good, but that's what I need. And it is a struggle because here we have what we call sesquiquadrates, which is super action, you might say. And it is our mental powers with that transformational process, which is like prune, cut, destroy, in order to rebuild and give space. And the other one is our values with our heart. You could say heart with Venus and moon with emotions. But what have we been attached to that's like, nah, thank you. We loved it. But like the butterfly, it can come back. Let it go.
I think of the sesquiquadrates. Those are the orange dotted lines. Those are planets that are 135 degrees apart, I think. Sesquiquadrate, hard to say. What are you learning about? What's the lesson, right? What's on your textbook cover?
Yeah. Well, we are a little bit over in our half hour. However, just to finish it up, in a nutshell, we have that point of Thales again. It is Uranus, so we have a helper, as you were saying. Well, we are ready now to be right back. Thank you for joining us, and return real quickly just after a little spot. This is Kaleidoscope Visions with John Chenworth and Amanda Pierce and myself, Sue Minahan. We'll be right back about June and the full moon. Thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the period of Gemini. By leaving a cycle based on physical form, integrated through spirit, the energy of Gemini connects spirit with matter, focused on communicating and defining the external. Gemini is a mutable air sign signifying flexibility. Gemini dually focuses upon teaching and learning in order to synthesize the world one lives within.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to Natasha Venter at intuitiveclarifications.com. We cover the world of animals. This week, it's Best Neuroenergetic Balancing, Rasmussen Reset, and Energy Code Sunday. Dr. Nels Rasmussen and Linda Rasmussen join us, and together they'll take your phone calls and help you or your animal friends with emotional, behavioral, or physical issues. Hope you can join us and plan to call in for your free remote treatments. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Be sure to support the sponsors of your favorite shows on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, we're back again. Well, this is, again, briefly speaking, Amanda Pierce and John Chinworth, SkypathAstro.com, myself, TalkCosmos.com. And just to remind folks, thank you. We do have the past shows that might be of great interest to you. It's on the YouTube channel for Talk Cosmos. And that would be with Adam Gainsbourg about Mars. He'll be coming up again in August because Mars is going to be opposing Pluto. It'll be quite fascinating. And with Saturn, Jason Hawley joined us. And then last week was about dwarf planets because they're octaves. They give another dimension. It was between three dwarf planets that are actually in relationship to Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus that are just ingressing. So, and next week will be Jupiter in Cancer with Louise Eddington, the cosmic owl. So do tune in for that. I'm also on a dwarf planet series that we're occasionally doing a few. We have an upcoming one with Liz Machette on her Astrology Star Sisters, but you can find that on my playlist. So go to YouTube channel at Talk Cosmos. And thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Going to mention that on Labor Day, there's a Fractal Cosmos vibrational astrology conference, and it's online. Is extremely reasonable. If you just attend, it's like $95. And if you want everything, then it's maybe $150. I'm not sure. And that's the recordings later, but it really gives a good overview. Let's get to our Jupiter. It's June 9th at 0 degrees Cancer, and it will retrograde November 11th and then go direct again in March 11th of 2026 until July 1st when it goes into Leo. Did you want to talk about that somewhat, Amanda? It seems like I remember.
Yeah, I'd love to. Just talking about Jupiter, this is Jupiter wants to bring us joy into our lives. It's about wisdom. It's your truth, your authentic nature. It's your natural path, and it represents your beliefs. And so it's moving into Cancer, which is like the sign of the moon. It's very emotional, and there's going to be an expansion of our emotional bodies when Jupiter's in Cancer. So really tuning to our bodies and our systems and our emotions to help guide us to our truth, help us figure out, what is our correct path. So really, if we're tuning to what if it's feeling right to us, then there's something correct about it. So that's, I think,
Mm.
what I would say about Jupiter in Cancer. It's also traditionally exalted in the sign of Cancer, and so it's considered a very strong sign. So has a lot of power.
Feelings is the perfect. I love that. It's so powerful and necessary is how we feel.
Yeah, we don't, it's our modern world doesn't really promote that. So it's for many of us, that'll be a new experience and a new expression of Jupiter for us.
It's very true because its polarity point is Capricorn, and Capricorn has that great ability to reach a goal through a lot of effort and organization. It's timing, but a different sense of timing, because Cancer is a process like the moon. It evolves when the flower is on time. It doesn't worry too much whether spring happened on that calendar date in your world or not. It's when that crocus flower wants to emerge. Because I know in the Northwest, it can alter quite a bit. I hope that relates. Yes, indeed. This full moon, it illuminates, it culminates, and it releases. It is going to be at 20 degrees, 39 minutes of Sagittarius. That's in the third decan, which means it goes from Sag to Aries, Leo. It's kind of a Leo empowered on that sense of astrology. Looking at on the 11th of June at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, this is an Aries chart. Jupiter is the dispositor, and so it's going to be Jupiter in Cancer. So it's really like is it mutual reception where Jupiter is in Cancer.
Jupiter's in the sign of the moon, and the moon's in the sign of Jupiter.
Yes, there. This conjunction, there's quite a few. We were talking about them earlier, but it's very evident. And starting perhaps with Mercury and Jupiter. Now Mercury and Jupiter are really very close together, maybe 3.5 degrees, and Mercury is out of bounds. But so is the moon.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, like how this is, the Jupiter and Mercury have now come together, and they're connecting and talking to each other after Mercury has had its big connection with the sun. Jupiter is fully moved into a new sign, and now there's a chance for them to align with what the lower mental has been doing, the lower octave of the mental, meaning Mercury, and the higher octave, Jupiter, so that we can kind of come together and start moving in alignment with each other.
John, I know you mentioned it was busy, and this is just part of the busyness, but did you have some thoughts that you want to promote?
I want to talk to Jupiter being square Saturn, Jupiter expansion, Saturn contraction. But as Amanda said, Jupiter is exalted now, and Saturn has fallen in Aries. It's opposite Libra. So maybe Jupiter has a slighter edge, but there is a huge pack of planets in Aries. Maybe that counterbalances it. So there's still work to be done. May not feel good. I don't know, but I think it all goes to the good cause of Jupiter just feeling so nice.
It's also a full moon, so there's a lot of illumination happening during this period,
yeah.
And with that moon in Sagittarius, it's like things might start to gel for us and how we're thinking about things. And that Saturn piece, Saturn it may kind of stop the huge expansion of Jupiter at this point, but it's going to bring like a taste of reality. Like, this is really what we're dealing with right now. And so that can be quite helpful to get our bearings of like, what is it, what the actual.
And it's also in Aries, which is new beginnings always. You think of Mars and Aries as identity. And Aries, because it's instinctive, it starts this, it may work and it may not work, and then it changes course and it does something else. It's not deliberate to be mercurial like Gemini or like Mercury might be, but yet it's for that a cause or a defense or a becoming, an identity. So pioneering, discovering something.
Saturn
And
is also
mhm.
conjunct Neptune, and Neptune tends to
Yes,
diffuse. So if you have
yes.
Saturn in a fall, then Neptune diffusing that, and Saturn's approaching that, so it's going to get more like weird for Saturn
In
to
vib
lay down the
in
law.
vibrational
So,
in
yeah.
in vibrational astrology, those two together means spirituality, because it's the essentialness, core fundamental of Saturn, and the extraordinary, magical, beyond visionary thing of Neptune. So you combine that.
It kind of helps ground it so that it can actually come into manifestation. Like you need something like Saturn or something to get that nebulous Neptune inspiration and imagination to really
Right.
bloom on the earth plane.
Can you build
There's
a
a
dream, or what do you dream of building? Those are like two keywords with those planets that when they work together, they can
and
do magical
here
things.
it really shows us there's a lot of connections in support of that. So we're doing our actions, but then just to integrate the whole idea, we have an emotional fire trine. So it's going to be with our out of bounds moon of in Sagittarius, of what we voicing or feeling our perspectives, and there's so much change at the time, but I think Sagittarius needs to express it while it's experiencing it. That's part of its necessary action. Any thoughts? Should I just go on? I know we've, okay.
Well,
Shall we
grand
do?
trines. Could we go back to that slide 1 second?
Yeah.
Fire grand trines are, we feel good about being inspired. So we have this wonderful inspirational energy. What can I do with this?
Mm.
And I think I love that. And I think then using that Jupiter in Cancer to tune to what feels like the best, what feels like the most correct, and we can actually like feels like the right path forward. Because with a grand trine in fire, it's like a lot of inspiration, and you sometimes aren't really sure what to follow. So really like getting that felt knowledge of the self to help with that.
I think with this chart, this full moon chart, there's a lot of like a message of doing the right thing. I wanted to talk about Mars being square Juno on the right side of the chart. Juno is like, hey, do the right thing, have some fidelity, be true to what you're supposed to do. And Mars is like, oh, let's just rush through and mess this up. So this whole chart is speaking to, okay, lots of information going on, lots of actions you could take, but what is right now for you to grow and to help others?
Here it is, interestingly, in response to our, ours. I mean, we're part of the United States, our chart. And because we are a Cancerian nation, our Independence Day was on the 4th of July, but also at that time, Venus and Jupiter were in close conjunction. So here we have Jupiter again approaching, and in a Jupiter return, essentially, and Mercury right on that. So we can see that in our politics. Not to talk about politics at all. We have still the last quarter we have to go through, but we can make some comments that there are so many. You can see how all the actions on both sides of whatever the news happens to be talking about. Mars in the conjunction that's moving forward in Leo, that is close to our own Mars in Gemini, that the sun is, there's many connections here. Venus square the nodes. So we're working with, how are we going to act? How are our values?
Mercury is on the national Jupiter. Mercury is on the national Jupiter, that teacher-student thing for the United States.
Yes,
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's also the 7th house in a national chart, our relations with other countries. I think that's very interesting.
Oh, indeed. And we're strategizing one way or the other wise. Pallas Athena, we're getting right down there at 26 degrees Aquarius. It's conjunct It's just incredible. Shall
So
we
Palace
take our
return.
Yes, Palace return.
Thinking about the use of technology, right?
Oh yes,
And
that
in a
would
national
be.
chart, the third house is communications within a country. So that's very interesting for the United States.
I like also Jupiter's coming up on the US's Venus, about to
Yep.
conjunct the US's Venus. So, really thinking about what are we valuing as a country, and
what alliances we value, that seventh house.
right, yeah.
Jupiter will actually be at 3 degrees of Cancer in June, coming up pretty quickly, actually. No, yes, right. It'll be late, right around the solstice. But then I think, yep, because then Jupiter goes for this long retrograde. But so we'll get a chance right away to experience that this month with Jupiter going across. It's an orb. It's happening right now. We're looking at the perspectives. What's our foundation? Who is our tribe? And what is it that we want to protect? And what's our real story? Have we been, along with that Eris and healing that are conjunct, have we been excluding a lot of people? And it could work on both sides of the coin. Yeah.
Speaking of healing, Mars on the national Hygeia and healthcare being attacked, and then Hygeia coming up on the national Uranus. I think that's really telling. And the ninth house is the legislature.
Yes.
It's really interesting.
It's a powerful time, isn't it? Wow. Okay. The third quarter, closing this mercurial June new moon, that's happened back in the 26th of May. This will be on June 18th. It's a waning moon. That means it's decreasing in light. You'll see it up in the sky as a quarter moon. It's a crisis in consciousness versus the crisis in action that we're about to occur on the 3rd of June, which has gone through then the full moon. But here we are at the third quarter moon. It's in Pisces, 27 degrees, 47 minutes. And it's at 3:19 a.m. Eastern time again. And this particular chart is an Aries chart. Again, also about the dispositors or the rulers, call them what you want. Traditional is Jupiter in Cancer. For modern evolutionary people like myself, I also include, as we all do on this panel, Neptune. But it's very important to realize that Jupiter is one of the rulers, and it's in Cancer. Okay, so looking at this, one of the highlights coming up now in this chart is that Mercury and Venus essentially haven't any major aspects. That means with the other planets. They are with some of the asteroids, but it's really telling. And Mercury is out of bounds. It happens to be the ruler of Mars, which is in Virgo, and the South Node in Virgo. Venus is the ruler. Did I put that right? Anaretic Jupiter? It can't be. Somehow I'm mixed up there because this is the third one, and Jupiter just went into Cancer.
So
Venus,
that be the moon? Should Venus be the moon?
I think, I meant to put, I'm so sorry, I meant to put Uranus, because Uranus is at the very end of Taurus. And of course, Venus rules Taurus. So big boo-boo there. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, so mentioned. Maybe
we talked it out.
Yeah. Okay. So in our last bit, here we are. Action. There's still that square. It's been going on ever since the full moon with Jupiter now in Cancer, with the sun at the very end of Gemini, and they're still conjunct. And it's really activating how we feel in the moon with Pisces. That's along with that we're trying to go to of another whole sense of picture, nature. Pisces is looking at also those that are maybe have the prisoners, the homeless, the wildness of nature. It has many ways, those energies that are beyond ourselves, ruled by. But if it's ruled by Jupiter, it's also okay, I'm going to stop there. Well, it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is squaring it. It's saying, what's our big picture of it? What's the cultural thoughts? What's the visionary?
They're like out of sign aspects on here. Uranus is at 29 degrees Taurus, but it's not quite in the full square mode. And it will be when it gets into Gemini. And then you have, what was I looking at a second ago? The Sun with Jupiter. Everything's in different signs, so it's a little bit wonky, right? But like planets are trying to figure out how are these aspects going to really be. And I guess we see them actuate in a few days or whatever it is. The 29 degrees for Uranus is, of course, the critical degree. Uranus is trying to get it right, or we're trying to get those things right about Uranus at this time. How we use technology, how we
details, maybe
details and information that we get, because we live in a time where we get a whole lot of information.
And how do we discern what's useful for us,
right.
What's even correct, what's the truth, what's not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love
that square may speak to that when it becomes actual, when Uranus goes into Gemini.
Yeah, I love this moon for this Pisces moon for kind of being release oriented, like releasing and letting go of outdated stories or beliefs or logic that isn't serving us anymore. This is that, like you said, Sue, it's a big picture moon in Pisces, and Pisces is great at surrender, at letting go. So letting go what's not serving us. And with it conjunct the North Node, there's a lot of potential to open up to emotions, to sensitivity, to new insights.
Oh, yes, we get new messages.
Yeah.
Mercury is out of bounds, but it's in Cancer, and it is looking at the moon, and Jupiter's in Cancer. That moon is so potent. Oh, yes. Let's see what is flowing for us. Again, we have what we call a mini, or a minor is called. It's a talent trine. There's a focal point, which is Jupiter, our friend Jupiter, that's just now in its New Year's path in Cancer, and talking to the dynamics of alchemist. I like to think of Chiron as an alchemist. You go from wounds. How do you empower yourself through those wounds? It may be familiar to many people. It's not just your own story, but how do you teach and share it?
Many trines being like the little steps you can take. And then there's a lot of finite energies lighting up in this chart, I noticed. So just taking what comes, sifting through it, taking what works, and throwing over your shoulder what doesn't, but always thinking in terms of the collective.
Yeah. Amanda, I didn't mean to jump ahead, but we have about 2 minutes at best. Did you have a thought? Or maybe we should just say, what is this big whole month? It is really like if I often think of going across a river and you have these stones and you try to hop across them or just step across them. And because it is emotional with the river, it's flowing all the time. It's changing it, finding some, and hopefully they're not too slippery. Otherwise in the water.
I was thinking of, speaking to that, going across the river on the stones, when we were looking at the third quarter moon chart, I pictured in my mind a really odd path that you're on. You're not quite sure where it's going, and the sun's going down, and there's tree branches in the way, but you persist through, and you take what information you need, and the light will come.
It's kind of like just following, like you get one stepping stone at a time, and there's like a level of trust. Which just speaks to that Pisces moon as well, like trusting that you're on that right path. So yeah, it's a really interesting month, and a lot of potential for really foundational shifts in how we think and what we believe.
Yes, yes, indeed. When it comes to belief, it's really, and David, you can get rid of those slides. Thanks. If you would just let our three heads pop up. Thanks. We really, it's very involved. You know, on one factor, we can strategize and read it out linear, but on the other hand, it's so instinctive. It's emotional. It's a process. It's a whole evolving picture that you have to experience. And that must be the beauty of it, is to learn to experience, not to be projecting or detached.
And tuning to our knowingness and developing like that felt discernment within. I think those are big right now.
Key words, yep. Oh, Amanda Pierce and John Chinworth, Kaleidoscope Visions. Yes, I love that whole idea. It's like a turning. I used to love those. I still have them. You know, you turn them and
Me too.
see different pictures.
I had a few of those when I was a kid. I loved them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Well, people, enjoy your spring. We will have the solstice and we'll be back again. But there's so much to enjoy in this curious month of exploring.
Have a great month, everyone.
Have a great month.
Okay, we'll see you again. Bye.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.
The views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those